friends, it's time for story, and we have another one by Jane Hissey today from the same series. This one is called Old Bear, and you can see all of Old Bear's friends all around: Bramwell, Brown, Rabbit, Duck, and Little Bear, and they all live together. You can see which one Old Bear is. He's the biggest one in the middle, and he's kind of a little more worn than the others. His fur is not as fluffy. Oh, that picture's so cozy, isn't it? With everyone all together. The title page is similar, with them all snuggled up together. That's so nice. Okay. Now, in these Jane Hissey books, you kind of need to see both pages at the same time, so I'm going to move the book a little closer. And it starts like this. It wasn't anybody's birthday, but Bramwell Brown had a feeling that today was going to be a special day. He was sitting thoughtfully on the windowsill with his friends, Duck, Rabbit, and Little Bear, when he suddenly remembered that someone wasn't there who should be. Can you see this picture here? That's who should be with them, who's not with them right now. A very long time ago, he had seen his good friend Old Bear being packed away in a box. Back then, he was taken up a ladder, through a trap door, and up into the attic. The children of the family were being too rough with him, and he needed somewhere safe to go for a while. So this is what Old Bear looked like in his box. Sometimes old things are fragile, and so if the children of this house were being too rough with him, he might tear or fall apart. So the grown-ups put him in a safe place up in the attic. I wonder if Old Bear belonged to the grown-ups when they were children. Maybe that's how old he is. Bramwell is looking at him getting packed away. Has he been forgotten, do you think? Bramwell asked his friends. I think he might have been, said Rabbit. Well, said Little Bear, isn't it time he came back down with us? The children are older now, and they would look after him properly. Let's go and get him. What a marvelous idea, said Bramwell. But how can we rescue him? It's a long way up to the attic, and we haven't got a ladder. We could build a tower of bricks, suggested Little Bear. Rabbit collected all the bricks, and the others set about building the tower. It grew very tall, and Little Bear was just putting on the last brick when the tower began to wobble. Look out, he cried as the whole thing came tumbling down. Crash! Never mind, said Bramwell, helping Little Bear to his feet. We'll just have to think of something else. It's interesting that they call these bricks. I would call those blocks. But, you know, these stories are from England, and sometimes they use slightly different words. Let's see. Oh, did you notice that Duck is helping to balance the tower with his bill? Oh, let's try making ourselves into a tower, said Duck. Good idea, said Bramwell. Little Bear climbed on top of Rabbit's head, and Rabbit hopped onto Duck's beak. They stretched up as far as they could, but then Duck opened his beak to say something. Rabbit wobbled, and they all collapsed right on top of Bramwell. Sorry, said Duck. Perhaps that wasn't a very good idea. Well, not one of your best, replied Bramwell from somewhere underneath the heap. So they tried building something tall, and that didn't work. And then they tried building themselves to be tall, and that didn't work. But they're not going to give up, right? I know, said Rabbit. Let's try bouncing on the bed. Trust you to think of that, said Bramwell. You never can resist a bit of bouncing, especially when it's not allowed. Rabbit climbed onto the bed and began to bounce. That's a funny idea that the stuffies would not be allowed to jump on the bed. Up and down, up and down, up and down, the others joined him. They bounced higher and higher, but still they couldn't reach the trap door in the ceiling. They'll have to think of another idea. And so, wait, did I miss a page? Yes. Oops, I almost missed a page there. Okay. Duck began to cry. "Oh dear," he sobbed. "What are we going to do now? We'll never be able to rescue Old Bear, and he'll be stuck up there getting lonelier and lonelier forever and ever." "We mustn't give up," said Bramwell firmly. "Come on, Little Bear, you're good at ideas." But Little Bear had already noticed the plant in the corner of the room. Sometimes Duck gets discouraged and grumpy, but Little Bear does have a lot of good ideas. This is the next idea. "I've got it," he cried. "I could climb up on this plant, swing from the leaves, kick the trapdoor open, and jump in." In case it wobbled, Bramwell, Brown, Duck, and Rabbit steadied the pot at the bottom. Little Bear bravely climbed up the plant until he reached the very top leaf. He took hold of it and started to swing to and fro, but he swung so hard that the leaf broke. Snap! And he came crashing down. Luckily, Bramwell Brown was right underneath to catch him in his paws. "That was a rotten idea," said Little Bear. "What was I thinking," said Duck, "was that it is a pity I can't fly very well, as I could have been quite a help." "Aha," said Bramwell. "That, my dear Duck, has given me a very good idea. I really think this one might work." They're giving each other ideas. That's what friends do. In the corner of the playroom was a little wooden plane with a propeller that went round and round. "We could use this plane to get to the trap door," said Bramwell. "Rather dangerous, I know, but quite honestly, I can't bear to think of Old Bear up there alone for a minute longer." "I'll be pilot," said Rabbit, hopping up and down, making plane noises. "And I'll stand on the back and push the trap door open with my paintbrush," said Little Bear. "But how will you get down?" asked Duck. "I've already thought of that," said Bramwell. "They can use these handkerchiefs as parachutes, and we'll catch them in a blanket." So they've really thought of everything. Bramwell gave Little Bear 2 big handkerchiefs and a torch so that he could see in the attic. Torch is one of those words that we don't really use in the United States, but they use over in Europe. A torch is a flashlight. Then he began to wind up the propeller of the plane. Rabbit and Little Bear climbed aboard, and Bramwell began the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! And they were off. The plane whizzed along the carpet and flew up into the air. Now that's lucky that they have a plane that can actually fly. The little plane flew beautifully, and the first time they passed the trapdoor, Little Bear was able to push the lid open with his paintbrush handle. Then Rabbit circled the plane again, this time very close to the hole. Little Bear grabbed the edge, and with a mighty heave, he pulled himself inside. He got out his torch and looked around. The attic was very dark and quiet, full of boxes, old clothes, and dust. He couldn't see Old Bear at all. "Any bears in here?" he whispered, and he stood still to listen. From somewhere quite near, he heard a muffled grrr, followed by, "Did somebody say something?" Little Bear moved a few things aside, and there, propped up against a cardboard box and covered in dust, was Old Bear. There he is. Now we're going to get a better look. When we open this page, there are no words, but you can get a very good look at what it was like at the attic. Here's Little Bear, right at the edge of the hole where his friends are down below waiting. And there's Old Bear with a bunch of other stuff, just waiting. There's even some, if you look closely, there's even some little cobwebs, some little spider webs, which can happen when something hasn't been touched in a while, right? Little Bear jumped up and down with excitement. Old Bear! Old Bear! I found Old Bear! So you have, said Old Bear. Have you been lonely? Asked Little Bear. Quite lonely, said Old Bear, but I've been asleep a lot of the time. Well, said Little Bear kindly, would you like to come back to the playroom with us now? That would be lovely, replied Old Bear, but how will we get down? Don't worry about that, said Little Bear. Bramwell has thought of everything. He's given us these handkerchiefs to use as parachutes. Let's see how this works. You can see that the handkerchiefs have some string attached. Good old Bramwell, said the old teddy. I'm glad he didn't forget me. Old Bear stood up and shook the dust out of his fur, and Little Bear helped him into his parachute. They went over to the hole in the ceiling. Ready, shouted Rabbit. Steady, shouted Duck. Go, shouted Bramwell Brown. The two bears leapt bravely from the hole in the ceiling. Their handkerchief parachutes opened out, and they floated gently down, landing safely in the blanket. Oh, what a relief. Welcome home, Old Bear, said Bramwell Brown, patting his friend on the back. The others patted him too, just to make sure he felt at home. It's nice to have you back, they said. It's nice to be back, replied Old Bear. It's kind of how the story started, right? Oh, there's Little Bear saying goodbye. The sign that he's holding says Jane Hissey, the author. This is the dedication page. Usually books have a dedication page in the beginning. That's who the story is written for. So Jane Hissey knows people named Owen, Allison, and Ralph, and that's who she was thinking of when she wrote these books. Oh, I'm so glad they were able to rescue Old Bear, aren't you? They were very brave, and they kept thinking of different ideas. When one idea didn't work, they just thought of another idea and another idea and another idea until they did what they planned, because they just couldn't think about Old Bear being all by himself. One thing I wonder is, what will the people think when Old Bear is suddenly in the playroom again and the attic door was left open? Do you think the people will notice? You know, there's some videos on YouTube of these Old Bear stories. If you're grown-ups, look them up. They're very sweet. There are many of the stories that are acted out by the actual toys. The toys move in the stories, and they're so nice. Well, I'm glad you came here for this story today, and I'll see you again on another day. I can't wait. Bye.